If you're having some trouble getting your mixes to sound nice and upfront compared to pro mixes, then this is the video for you. Yo, what is up everybody? It is your favorite engineer, Drew, back with another video. And like I said, this video is going to be talking about a little bit of a secret that a lot of people don't really focus on or don't use in their mixes, which can actually sometimes hurt your mixes if you want to get them nice, loud, and competing with these pro mixes today. Now, the trick I'm going to be talking about today is using your mix bus processing. So what the mix bus is, it pretty much is a series of processing that goes before the mastering chain that kind of just gets your mix more cohesive sounding than it did before. So for today's video, we just have a beat I pulled off of YouTube as an example, just to show you what this is actually sounding like. There's no vocals or anything. This is literally just a beat, but you can do this method on any full song, any just beat, whatever you want. If you just want a more cohesive sounding mix, then this is what you want to do. So to start it off, we have this Ozone 11 plugin, and this is really good just to add some more, loudness to the mix. And also, as you can see, we have this vintage limiter, but as well as this vintage tape, which is adding some saturation to the mix, which kind of gives it more excitement and gives it a little bit more of that analog feel. So with this limiter, I'm just setting the threshold to -2. I just want a little bit of gain reduction so that it's taming some of those dynamics in the song, because as we know, modern songs today, they don't have a lot of dynamics. That is the one thing you got to focus on, how to control those dynamics if you want to push your song even louder. So like I said, the vintage limiter, -2 on the threshold, then the vintage tape, I set it on 30 speed, input drive at 0.1, and then harmonics at 1.1. Nothing too crazy on the settings, very simple, but it's just going to add a little bit of that loudness to the mix. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like without it and then with. And like I said, it's just a beat. So this is without it. This is with. So as you can see, we gained a good amount of loudness, but in this Insight 2 plugin, you can also see we lost some headroom in our momentary lufts. So we want to control that a little bit more using a compressor. And for this one, I have the Pro C2. I kind of emulated this as the SSL bus compressor, something along those lines. Any type of compressor will work. All I did was set the threshold to -7.18, ratio to 3:1, which is kind of higher for bus processing, but I like the way it sounds. Then the clean mode, attack at 30 milliseconds, release at 46 milliseconds, and then the gain set to 3.85. So what this compressor is doing is basically bringing up some more of that volume. So this is going to start to get really loud, but it's going to tame some of that punch a little bit more. So you're going to see the headroom goes way up to -2 lufs or something crazy like that. So I'm just going to show you what this is looking like, and it's honestly crazy how this works. This is without. And then this is with it. So as you can see, our momentary lufs went down, so we lost even more headroom there. Our goal is to get it to around that -5, -6. That's a good range. If you want a really loud and really upfront mix, you're going to have to take it to -5. So right now we're at -3.2 after that compressor, so we lost a little bit more headroom. So our next plugin is a fruity limiter. All I did was I turned the gain back to -2.9 just to gain that 3 decibels of headroom back. All this is doing, bringing down the volume like I said, and you're going to see, I'm just going to show you with it on, and you're going to see how much headroom we gain back. So as you can see, we're at that -6.1, like I said, that -6, -5 area. And like I said, this is before mastering. So when you go into that mastering stage, the limiter is not going to be pushing, like I literally use maybe 0.5 dB of limiting on the mastering chain. Now we're going to start tonally shaping our mix. We want to add a little bit more of that low end body and some top end shine. So we're going to use some smiley face EQ moves here with this Pool Tech. The boost is 1.1 on the high and then around 0.9 on the low. The low is at 100 hertz and then the high is at 8K hertz. Now, like I said, this is the smiley face EQ move. So we're kind of getting that more radio sound, that polished sound. Let me show you what this EQ is sounding like before and after. And this is with. So very subtle thing right there. To me, I just added a little bit more of that body, like I said, and a little bit of that top end. We're already starting to get to that area where we like, but we just have 2 more processing plugins that we want to use to get that final, polish on the mix. So right here, I have the Nectar 4 equalizer. Now what this is doing, it's kind of emulating that analog feel, that analog sound. So I wanted to do a low cut or a high pass, whatever you want to call it, at 30 hertz. So cutting off all that low end that your ears don't necessarily hear, like that 20 hertz range. But then what we're doing is, since we're cutting a little bit of that low end, we want to boost at the 41 hertz range by 2.5 decibels. And this is just using a low shelf and getting a little bit more of that super low end for those subwoofers and just adding a little bit more of that body. And then we're kind of doing the same thing in the high end. So this right here, I have a high shelf at 10,000 hertz, and then I'm just boosting it by 2 decibels just to add a little bit of that shine and a brighter characteristic to the mix. And then also we're doing a low pass or a high cut at 20,000 hertz at a 24 decibels an octave. 20,000 hertz is kind of the higher end of that human frequency range, and most of you are probably deaf by now, being an audio engineer, so you can't even hear that high. So there's no reason to have that super high frequency in the mix, and this is, like I said, just emulating some of that analog feel. So I'm going to show you what this sounds like without and then with, and you're going to hear what this EQ is doing. Now this is with it. So right there, as you can tell, we're adding a very subtle amount of that polishing. Very subtle. Then the final plugin of the mix bus that I want to show you is the Fruity Soft Clipper. Now this is just doing some of that final clipping if anything peaks over that 0 mark, keeping a little bit of that headroom for the mastering. But like I said, even in the mastering chain, with all this processing, you're probably only going to boost it by maybe 0.5 to a decibel. So this is a very, upfront sounding mix now, and this is just that final controlling piece. And I'm going to show you what our momentary lufs is at now after all this processing. And like I said, we're shooting for that -5 to get this thing super loud. So let's hear what this is sounding like. So as you can see right there, we hit that -5.5. In general, this is going to make your song really loud without adding too much distortion from limiters, because if you try to push your song way too loud with a limiter on it, you're going to get a lot of distortion and just not good sounding loudness. So that was my goal. This is going to be a quicker video just to show you guys a little bit of a trick that I realize helps out a lot with my mix that a lot of you guys aren't using or don't know about. You can actually get this full preset on my website right now. It's just going to be the mix bus sauce that you can go on my website, drewchavis.com, and you can cop this using the link in the description, as well as you can purchase custom mixing and mastering services straight from me, as well as presets to sound like your favorite artist and custom presets built for your own voice. So make sure you go to my website in the description if you like what you hear. And also I want you guys to comment down below what video you want to see next, what artist you want me to recreate, and yeah, we're gonna get it done. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and stay tuned for future videos. Thank you for watching. Peace.